Oh, and we talk about that, Brendan.
And real chance to get
certainly, and we've talked about that before Seth Hennigan kind of became what Seth Hennigan was. We were talking. I remember having these conversations of, man, you had Paxton Lynch and Riley Ferguson and then Brady White. It's really hard to get 3 straight.
Oh, there's no way to keep it going.
No way to get 4 straight.
It is.
Well, then you get Seth Hennigan, and now you have a really good chance of getting a big-time high school player that could come in. And I think that's one of the selling points for him is, look, Seth Hennigan's about to leave. This is last year. You come in next year as a freshman, and you can contend for that starting job immediately.
Bama did it they're doing it with Milroe, Bryce Young, Mac Jones, to Jalen Hurts.
That's pretty good.
That's Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard for Memphis to be mentioned in the same sentence as Alabama, but you're there
That's
with
right.
Lynch, Ferguson, White, Hennigan, and whoever the heir apparent will be after Seth Hennigan. I got me a task for the weekend.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to find other places that have gone 4 in a row.
I love it.
I mean, at Georgia, it'd be close.
Sure.
It would be close. But do you count Fromm in there? I do.
I love Jake Fromm.
I did too, especially the Rose Bowl year.
Yeah.
I'll do that this weekend.
I love it.
My top story, Boston goes up 1-0 for the 4th straight series at home in Boston. Lost game 2 to Miami and game 2 to Cleveland. Then they swept Indiana. I said yesterday they'd won all 3 series 4-1. I made a mistake. They swept Indiana. It was all Celtics last night. The moment looked a little too big for Dallas at times, but more importantly, Dallas didn't they didn't get a lot from Kyrie Irving, and they lose 107-89. Luka, he had 30. Kyrie Irving only 12. Very balanced for Boston, 6 in double figures. And they got the return game from injury and from adrenaline from Kristaps Porzingis. Got 20 from him. Can they keep that going? That might be his one game. And if it is, I still think Boston wins the series. But if they get a second one from him, it makes it easier for them to win the series.
Sure does.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's where your top story was the game 1 in the NBA Finals. I thought early, oh man, we're in for a treat in game 1 with how those teams were trading baskets early. It looked like Dallas was playing with a ton of confidence, but that confidence got sucked right out of them very quickly. By the end of the first quarter, the Celtics had a pretty good lead, and they never really turned back. Yeah, you had that big run by Dallas in the third quarter, but we already mentioned it. Even when they had that run, it did not feel like this was going to be a game that Dallas would be able to come back and win. And just like that, as quick as they were able to make it an 8-point game, it was quickly taken away, and the Celtics created that large lead once again. So they made it look easy last night. We'll see a couple of days. I'm curious to see what kind of adjustments Dallas makes after that loss and what they can do in game 2 in Boston. I think it would be massive if they could somehow split this series on the road before heading back to Dallas. But if not, you definitely want to be more competitive than you were last night.
A lot of action underway. My not top story, a lot of action underway in the College World Series with super regionals across the country. FSU chasing the whale. They are ahead. They got to finally conquer it. Tennessee, the favorite. A&M, we know they'll choke. Georgia and Florida trying to pull off really what Ole Miss did 2 years ago and come from back of the pack. But I think it's Tennessee's to lose. Right now, they're up 5-2. This is their time in baseball.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It feels like they are the team to beat, and certainly playing well right now against Evansville. Like you said, 5-2 lead in the 4th inning. Well, that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk wagering with Alan Bell.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Buster's Butcher at 199 South Highland Street in Memphis. We're a full-service butcher shop offering a curated selection of quality meats, cheeses, prepared foods, and more. At Buster's, our skilled butchers are also experienced chefs. They'll be delighted to guide you on selecting, preparing, and cooking our fine selection of products. We're like nothing else you can find in Memphis. Learn more at bustersbutcher.com and come see why every cut counts at Buster's Butcher.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving. Todd is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Hi, I'm Todd, and I live in Georgia. I'm a veteran of 23 years. I love to give back to the community, whether it's my fellow veterans, some guy on the street corner. I offer what I can, when I can. I started noticing that my memory was slipping, and I wanted to take proactive measures to try to help that. I saw a Prevagen commercial, and I did some research on it, and I wanted to find out does this stuff really work. I started taking Prevagen about 3 years ago. Since taking Prevagen, I feel clearer in my thoughts, my memory has improved, and generally just more on point.
Prevagen is available in stores everywhere without a prescription. Based on a clinical study of subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired, this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
Summer's heating up, and so are the savings at Choate's. We've got 3 incredible offers to make your season spectacular. First up, our Grill and Chill with Choate's Summer Special. Upgrade your HVAC system and choose between a free Yeti cooler or a Green Egg grill on select systems. Then power through any outage with Choate's generators. Be one of the first 50 customers to buy a generator and score a massive 75-inch TV or an iPad. Also, don't forget about our tankless water heater offer. Purchase a tankless water heater from Choate's and receive a premium toilet free. Don't wait. These offers are too good to last. Turn to the experts with Choate's and call 347-8086 or visit us online today for your free estimate. Now introducing Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
It's time to have a good time at Mugshots Grill and Bar in Olive Branch and Carterville. Come by for half-price happy hour 2 to 6 Monday through Friday with domestic drafts and $3 snacks. Then try one of Mugshots 19 specialty burgers, including the Mugshot Burger. Finish in 12 minutes and it's free. Plus, you get a free shirt. Mugshots in Olive Branch, 6400 Goodman Road, and Mugshots in Carterville, 656 West Poplar. So cheers to great food, good drinks, and fun company at Mugshots Grill and Bar, where you're always having a good time.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack, Sportsworthy, and Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some wagering, Alan Bell from the AB3 and Driving the Line. He joins us now. Alan, thanks so much for joining us, and please tell me you either had Florida State or the over in that game earlier today.
First off, man, I appreciate you guys having me back. And I'll do you one better. I had both of them. So
yes.
There you go. Yeah.
I love it.
That over 11.5. Nice one when Florida State wins 24-4.
That's right.
So Yeah.
Over 11.5, and you were there on the total in the fourth inning.
Yeah. It was nice, man.
Or
Look,
so,
Florida
yeah.
State's been doing this all year. Like,
Mhm.
this is what this team is, man. They can hit with anybody in the country, and when they get hot, good luck. No one has pitching to stop them. They are they don't get talked about enough. They are a very good baseball team.
They are, Alan, and the reason why we don't talk about them enough positively is all the misses through the years in Omaha. 23 times to Omaha, 60 NCAA tournament appearances, and 0 dog piles.
Man, that's crazy, isn't it? Like, and especially, I mean, just, the legendary coach like Martin there, like
A couple
all
of
the guys
legendary
that did.
coaches.
Yeah, exactly, right? And, that's wild. Well, they've got a shot to do it this year. They're good enough to do it.
Who is the maybe 2 or 3 teams that it's those guys and then everyone else behind them for a dog pile at Omaha?
Yeah, so Tennessee, Texas A&M, I think that those two teams are really, really good. And you look at a team like Clemson, all right? Clemson doesn't get talked about terribly much, but, they're a quiet baseball team that Clemson reminds me of the St. Louis Cardinals throughout just baseball history, right? Like, they're not going to beat themselves. They're very well coached. They swing with 2 strikes. Like, they can do it all, and they just don't give games away. They don't, create errors. So I don't know if I'm putting Clemson exactly like Tennessee and Texas A&M are head and shoulders. I mean, Florida State's right there too, but Tennessee and Texas A&M have just been problems for everyone this year. Those two teams, man, they've got a very, very good shot to do it.
But there's not just one team like UConn was in the basketball tournament, is it?
No, that's the thing. It's like, we've got 16 teams right now.
We could still be playing that basketball tournament. UConn would be moving on.
Right, I know, right? Like, any of the 16 could win these super regionals, right? Like, any of the 8 could win. Like, nobody is just infallible, right? Like, every team out there has, kind of their bugaboo. So, no, like, whoever the 8 teams that we get for the College World Series, it's going to be great. Like, they're going to match up well.
And think of what's at stake in the Bryan College Station Super Regional that Texas A&M is hosting against Oregon. The money spent in athletics departments by those two just in the last 10 years, and there aren't many trophies. It's time to cash something in for both Oregon and Texas A&M.
Yeah, it is, right? And I worry about Oregon in this one. Like, Texas A&M can do it. Not saying Oregon can't, but you're going to win 2 out of 3 down there in College Station, buddy. You're going to have to be on your A game because Texas A&M, after surviving the regional, getting through Texas, beating them in extra innings. I mean, you guys know how baseball is. You give a team, extra life, you usually pay for it.
And I would imagine tomorrow at 1 o'clock when that game starts in College Station. I'm sorry, I can't get into this Champaign-Urbana Bryan College Station stuff. I know they won't want to be called that. But tomorrow in College Station at that field, and it is a great, great ballpark, Blue Bell Park, it's going to be 100 in the shade.
Whew.
Oregon's not used to that.
No. That's a great point. And the ball is going to be flying, humidity up. And it's going to be that way pretty much every super regional that we have. I don't think that we're going to have any storms, anything. It should be a great weekend. It's going to be very hot. You're right. Oregon, not used to that. And not only that, buddy, them Texas A&M fans, they don't care if it's 200 degrees. Like, they're going to be out there, and it's going to be loud, boy. Like, Oregon better be prepared because, like Florida State, like when Texas A&M jumps on you, they don't stop jumping on you, and it can get out of hand in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got 2 more games tonight. Right now, Tennessee and Evansville, they're in the 5th inning, Tennessee at 5-2. But 2 games that have not started today. West Virginia versus North Carolina at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, Kansas State and Virginia. Do you like anything in either of those games?
Yeah, so I like the over 11.5 in the West Virginia-North Carolina game. I think both teams, West Virginia's been doing it with runs. Look at that. Evansville just hit a 2-run RBI double there. Yeah, so I like the over 11.5 in West Virginia, North Carolina. Both those teams can hit the ball well. West Virginia's been living off of it. North Carolina survived against LSU. They're playing at home. I think they're going to come out focused. And I like Virginia, against Kansas State. That total is, I think, 13.5.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of runs to bet on. Virginia's not, always the highest scoring team, but like Clemson, but on steroids. Buddy, Virginia doesn't give you anything. Like, they have no problem playing a 6-2 ball game, right? Like, that's right up their wheelhouse. You're only going to get 3 to 5 hits, and you had better maximize when you have runners on base because you ain't going to have a lot of them. So I like Virginia to get the win. I like the over in the North Carolina game.
That Evansville hit, I don't know how it didn't get out of the ballpark.
I know.
Up in Knoxville, but that game is 5-4. They can, and Brian
can hit.
And Brian and I talked about it last weekend. They're very confident.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are. And, that's what we talk about right here. We go through all these games. Like, obviously pitching matters for sure. But it ain't like Major League Baseball where pitching is dominating. But you're going to have to swing the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to win that way because all of these teams, look at that, single up the middle, 5-5 game now.
Holy cow.
All these teams can hit. And Evansville is a perfect example. Buddy, I don't care what blue blood institution you might think that you are. These boys ain't afraid to hit against you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, watch out for a team like Florida. Teams that have nothing to lose, they're dangerous in baseball, man.
Alan Bell proving we're live locally and late breaking with all the action.
I'm trying to call it like you, brother. I'm
I
not
love
as
it.
good.
You are. John Wilkerson's on the call at Tennessee at that game. What do we say other than get them next year? What do we say to Arkansas fans after that really lackluster performance last weekend and knocked out by SEMO?
I think you look at Auburn's basketball team went last year when they were good all year long and they
great
were just
comparison,
leaking oil. That's how Arkansas was, and it was good bet. What we just talked about, Arkansas had 3 best pitchers you could imagine. Buddy, if you can't hit and score runs, don't care how good your pitchers are. You could have 3 Cy Young winners. You ain't winning with 2 runs a game. It's just not going to happen.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Switching gears a little bit, Major League Baseball this weekend, a good slate today. One less game, though, so when you're handicapping these games, one less game to have to worry about because tomorrow we've got the game in London, so they're not playing tonight. Is there anything you like in Major League Baseball tonight?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, the Braves and the Nationals, right? Look there. But the Braves, are their bats are starting to come up together a little bit. It's not consistent. But the reason I like it is that the Braves could score 9 runs and give up 17 runs, right? Like, they've got problems going on over there. So I like playing that. The Nationals, they're hitting pretty well. I also like the Astros game under with Framber Valdez on the mound there. Dude is a beast. So, yeah, I like totals, man. It's a great weekend. It's hot. It's humid. Ball's going to be flying, except when you've got a monster on the mound. He can shut you down.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Basketball last night, game 1 in the NBA, all Boston. What'd you make of that one, and do you think Dallas can make adjustments and get back in there Sunday night?
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. You look through the playoffs this year, I think the Celtics, the only times that they've lost games in the playoffs has been in game 2s, right?
How
So
about that?
Dallas can take advantage. But here's the scary part, buddy. The Celtics ran the Mavericks out of the gym, and they didn't even need Jason Tatum. That's the scary part. That they could get better. They play great defense, man. They can lock you down. We're not counting Dallas out, but if Boston does that again in game 2, buddy, look out. Because here's the scary part too. Boston's better on the road than they are at home. Like, playing at home has been the problem. The Celtics, they're a monster, man. The Mavericks aren't dead, but it ain't looking good at all.
Alan, you have so much great, practical, really easy to understand advice for our listeners if they want to play these games. First of all, don't do anything crazy. If you can't afford it, don't do it. Just keep it fun. Another thing, back early in the college baseball season that I love your take on is find you 2 or 3 or 4 teams and really get a handle on them. Now, if it doesn't work out, move away from them and find somebody else. But get somebody that you can keep a handle on, because it's impossible to have all these teams down. I mean, it's hard for the boys in Vegas with all the AI and all the supercomputers to have it this figured out.
You're exactly right. Yeah,
what's one or two SEC football teams you would suggest to people, get this good handle on these and see how far they carry you?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. Let's use Tennessee as the first one. And I'm not saying betting on to win games, right? But what they're going to do is score in games, right? So you could take a look at points, and you could just focus on that team, who they're playing, and playing totals, overs, unders, whichever way you want to go. They've got a good quarterback in Nico. He's a stud. But
they're going to move the ball.
They're going to move the ball, and they're going to do it fast. Doesn't mean they're going to win these games, but you could focus right there on points. If you want to look, Ole Miss is going to be in the same factor as well. It's a good football team. It's well coached. Lane Kiffin, an excellent football coach. You can look at them. Ole Miss is going to beat some teams that people aren't going to think that they should. That's going to be a team to focus on wins. And then Georgia's Georgia. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to do that. Now, the interesting part is Texas and Oklahoma. What are we going to do with them? Like,
Here they come.
It is going to be wild. I'll end you with this. Florida is going to be terrible this year. They've got the hardest schedule, I think, in college football. It's absolutely brutal. Their coach is probably going to be gone. They've got problems everywhere.
Yeah.
Focus on them. You can make money off of that.
That scares me because I know they'll be sneaking around the old chicken coop in Oxford. I know they'll probably
right.
a lot of interest will be on Lane. Today at BetOnline_AG, they had a lot of SEC win totals out. Texas A&M 8.5, Tennessee even 9. Always like a team that doesn't have a hook in it on over or unders in a college football year. Ole Miss, Mizzou, LSU, Alabama, all at 9.5. And then you mentioned Texas, you mentioned Georgia, same old. They're 10.5. If I had to jump on anything on this list, boy, Brian, here I go again. Why am I doing myself like this? A&M, 8.5.
Oh, Brett.
I agree.
They've only burned me 4 years in a row, though.
That's right.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll say this, man. One, you're pot committed, but two, I agree with you. I think that they're going to handle their business because I think that what you said earlier, like the money that they're spending in baseball ain't nothing compared to the football part. And they are going to want some wins. I like it. I think that's a smart play. I'm with you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, new coach, maybe an adult in the room now.
And the Notre Dame game opening night in College Station.
Huge.
That's all. That would almost be the decider. They win that, you're going to hit your over 8.5.
Yep, you're exactly right. And they're much better than Notre Dame. I believe that. Yeah.
Well, Alan, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll do it again next Friday.
Man, look forward to it, boys. Y'all have a great weekend. Take care.
Thanks, Alan. Alan Bell joining us from the AB3 and Driving the Line, always giving us some good picks, some plays for our weekend. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, one pick that we didn't get from him, the Stanley Cup Finals, they start tomorrow, so we've got to make our pick. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for unlimited range time, free gun rentals with purchase of ammo, and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Whitten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always shoot with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
If you love sports and Mexican food, you can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the big TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $4.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So, I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote 1-800-670-5151. That's 1-800-670-5151. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-670-5151.
Colin's keeping up stats.
Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Colin's keeping up stats, but I didn't want to take. It seemed like Scheffler would have been too easy. He's one of those too easy to be true picks sometimes, but he's been so hot. But I kind of didn't want to, fall into the he couldn't fall off maybe one tournament type of issue thing. I didn't want to do that, but currently he's on his way to winning.
Spread your payments over 5 years. Don't miss this amazing offer. All natural and lab-grown diamonds included. Now through the end of June only, and only at Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20 plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack, Sportsworthy, and Brian Davis.
Well, one of two teams will hoist Lord Stanley's Cup in the next couple of weeks, the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. They start tomorrow night in the Stanley Cup Finals, a matchup between the northernmost NHL team and the southernmost NHL team. I'm really excited about it. Definitely something to maybe keep your focus off of. The NBA not playing tomorrow night is the fact that we'll have hockey and then right back to it Sunday night for the NBA.
And we have the Belmont this weekend.
We also have the Belmont. That's
without a
good
Triple
point.
Crown,
well,
it takes it.
It definitely does. Brett, I don't know if you have this accessible. I'm sure you do. Where we stand currently for our Stanley Cup playoff picks.
Oh, yeah, right at the ready. You're in the lead, noted hockey expert. I would say the hockey expert of the entire building.
What can I say? I'm wearing my Kraken hoodie right now.
There's that. You're at 10-4. Lee Odwin and Johnny, they're at 6-8, and I'm at 9-5. So I can tie you here if we don't have the same pick. If we have the same pick, I'm dormant. You've won.
And I've got a good feeling that we're going to have different picks here.
Pick away.
I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers. I have it on my
Panthers.
iPad somewhere before the Stanley Cup Finals even started. I went through all of it, and I put Edmonton would win the whole thing, and here we are now still standing. I think I had them playing the Rangers rather than the Panthers, but here we are now, and I'll take Edmonton. I'll continue to ride them.
Tell me, should we do it bracket form before it starts, or should we do it series by series like we've done it? What's best?
I think I like the series by series. I think it keeps everybody in it longer, I think.
Yeah, and bracket form can have a lot of red ink.
Oh
on
man,
it.
I mean, you could be done
Especially
after
for the
first.
hockey.
Yeah, I mean, after the first weekend.
Well,
or
you
first
should have seen my
series.
bracket one year in the World Cup. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was moving teams along that weren't even playing against each other.
Oh, geez,
Yeah,
Brett. Yeah. Oh no, soccer it's a little different.
Got crushed by it.
They're
the bracket's different.
It's certainly different. It's a little funny.
Zany soccer. Lee Odwin, your pick for the Stanley Cup.
Lee Odwin, who you got?
I'm going with Edmonton to win. Conor McDavid gets that first title. I'm really a McDavid guy. I think he's not Gretzky, but I really am a huge fan of his. I like Draisaitl as well too. So and Evander Kane. So I'm gonna go with the Edmonton, but Florida is a very this could go 7 games. But I think it does go 7. Edmonton is 7.
And we know if Edmonton wins, look, he's no Gretzky. Nobody's ever going to be, but he's the closest thing to it for that franchise right now, trying to get a title for the first time since the late 80s. I think they won that last one without Gretzky. But, they were a dynasty with Gretzky and Messier and company. Florida in the Stanley Cup last year, trying to get their first Stanley Cup ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm really excited about this.
This will be the third time, is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So, I mean, both these teams are definitely going for it. I know last year Panthers, make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, but end up losing. And so they, Brett, I tell you this. If you want to talk about teams that have superstitions and they think the jinx is in and all of that, it's hockey. I mean, they
won't even touch that division championship trophy.
The Panthers won the Eastern Conference, and last year when they brought their cup out for winning the East, they hoisted it up and everybody was touching it and all of that. They go to the Stanley Cup Finals, they lose. This year they bring it out. Nobody's getting anywhere near it. So then the next night, Edmonton
it was like that thing was a box of cobras.
Oh, yeah. And then the next night, Edmonton wins the West. They're not getting anywhere closer. They might have been farther away from it than Florida was. Nobody wants to touch these trophies unless it's Lord Stanley's Cup when they finally win it.
I wouldn't even hazard a guess on national TV ratings for tomorrow night for Game 1 on a Saturday night in the summertime, hockey. I wouldn't even hazard a guess. Would you?
No.
What kind of...
I couldn't tell you.
No clue.
I've no. Unfortunately, I have no
about
gauge.
The cricket before I TV ratings.
Shout out
hockey.
Team USA. No, I have no gauge on what the Stanley Cup Finals draws, and I hope it draws well. I hope a lot of people watch it because I think it's going to be a really good game. But we'll have to see.
And the NBA proving with this new deal that they have, again, I think being nice, you could say ratings for the NBA over this contract and over the last few years have been modest. I think that's being nice.
Sure.
You could really say they were down.
No, definitely.
But I'll just say they've been modest.
Certainly.
And they ring the bell with this new deal.
Yeah.
Look, we know the magic. You have ratings, you have sales.
Sure.
But sometimes you can have sales without ratings.
No, you definitely can. And I think, NBA, I think we were both kind of surprised when we saw those numbers that were coming in for this new deal. And it looks like, we all thought TNT was going to be completely done. Now it looks like maybe something could happen with TNT, maybe a much smaller option there where they're still at least able to have some games. So, yeah, I was definitely surprised by that. And, we'll see how this next media deal plays out for them.
And sometimes people that have ratings use it as a cudgel, and their parent company's in a $2 billion bankruptcy.
Well, yes, that is definitely a good point, and I think we all know who you're talking about with that one. But we'll see. Another interesting thing with the NBA before we get to a break here, a lot of this stuff that NBC is getting with this deal, I think they said nearly half of it's going to be streaming on Peacock. So that's another interesting angle to all of this. Certainly, as we know, streaming about to be a big-time factor when it comes to sports. But we'll see, and definitely a lot to talk about when it comes to the NBA. We'll talk more NBA at 4:30, and we'll talk more NBA in our next segment with our next guest, Bruce Marshall from Vegas Insider, CBS Sports, and BAMSports.net. We talk to him next.
Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous. A legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
This is hard to believe, but the Hyundai Santa Fe is actually better? I know, that's crazy, isn't it? The 2024 Santa Fe is new, top to bottom, and even better than before. It's almost as big as the Palisade, so roomy, and now it's got a standard third row. Everybody's clamoring for that. And it's the best SUV when it comes to the ride than ever before. You know how with SUVs you love it because you're sitting high, but you don't get that luxury kind of ride like a sedan? You do with the 2024 Santa Fe. It's the best riding SUV ever, and it's quiet. It's the ultimate family car. All you've got to do to be sold is to test drive it. The people at Homer Skelton Hyundai are saying, come try it. You'll love it. Homer Skelton Hyundai, right at the corner of Highway 78 and Craft Road. First exit in Mississippi. Go see the ultimate SUV, the 2024 Santa Fe.
It's silly season in the life of your roof. I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. The weather can be unpredictable, and I'm ready to get more life out of your roof with our award-winning Owens Corning repair team. We're the repair guys the other repair guys call when they can't find the problem. Leaks become black mold when ignored. That's why when you call me, I start my inspection in the attic. Is it time for a beautiful new roof? 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space and get you an estimate right over the phone. The best warranty in the business, including a warranty against ice dams. The only roofer in Memphis to offer a warranty against water intrusion due to snow buildup. Ask about military and first responder discounts. 901-867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Make your next grill your last with a Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on fuel, eating out, and replacing expensive grills that cannot match the flavor of the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. MBD is working a couple of accidents out here. It's just really crowded over here on 240 eastbound. Right when you come past Poplar all the way up to Walnut Grove, traffic's on the increase even more now. And just in the last few minutes on 40 East from Sycamore View Road all the way out into Fayette County, where there has been some radar out there on and off today on I-40 just past 269 inside Fayette County. Be careful. Weimer's Jewelry here in Memphis specializes in bridal ring purchases since 1984. Go by and see them this weekend. Shop local and save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Joining the guys every Friday is college football historian and Vegas legend Bruce Marshall from Vegas Insiders, CBS Sports, and his own website, BameSports.net. With over 30 years on Memphis radio, with Jake Captain and Sports Talk, here's Bruce Marshall with Brian and Brett.
Bruce Marshall joins us now on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line from Vegas Insider, CBS Sports, and BamSports.net. Bruce, thanks so much for joining us. I want to start off with the NBA. Last night, Game 1. Boston made it look easy. What did you make of their performance, and what do you think about this Dallas team going into Game 2?
Well, they're in trouble if that's what we saw last night, if that's what we're going to get for the rest of the series. But, you know, we've seen enough of the Mavs, Brian, in the postseason to not write them off just yet. Mm-hmm. They lost similarly ugly in the opening games of the Clippers and Thunder series. Both times bounced back to win Game 2 on the road. They've also bounced back from their 5 postseason losses with wins immediately. So they've shown resilience. The question, though, is Boston just a different kettle of fish here? And that might be true, especially with Porzingis back. What has to scare Dallas a little bit is Jason Tatum, especially Tatum, and Jaylen Brown didn't have their normal heroic sorts of games last night. So, you know, that would be a worry if they get hot. But I don't think we're going to get to see Porzingis, you know, score 20 points in 20 minutes every game he plays either. And it just didn't look like Dallas this night. Luka only one. It was the quietest 30 points you'll ever see. He missed 8 triples. Only 1 assist. He averages about 10 per game. The 3-pointers were just not falling for Kyrie either. He missed all 5. I think we'll see Kidd make some adjustments in Game 2 because the Celtics were kind of doubling up out there in the perimeter. And they also took away the corner threes, which are a pretty big thing for Dallas. Let's see if Kidd makes some adjustments. We've seen Dallas bounce back before. I'm willing to give them one more look in Game 2 here. And even then, I don't know if I'd write them off. But, I mean, this is going to be tougher than those teams they beat in the West. Boston looks like the team to beat. But I would still take points. I think I'd give the Mavs one more shot in Game 2. Remember, previous Game 2s are the only times Boston has lost this postseason. Miami first round, Cleveland second round. So if there's the old NBA zigzag works most in Game 2, here's a chance for it with the Mavs.
Bruce, the Celtics going for breaking the tie, going from 17 to 18, currently tied most championships with the Lakers at 17. This might be a topic in 2 weeks or not. This Celtic team, it doesn't feel like vintage Celtics, but sometimes you don't have to be to win it. I didn't think 2008 was vintage, but I thought 2008 was better than now.
Well, maybe. We haven't. This team, has had too many injuries. We haven't seen Porzingis that much, but they've been. The stat that really got me, Brett, is when you see that more than half their games are right about half. They've had leads through all season. They've had leads of 20 points or more. I mean, so they can really take teams out when they're on song like that. And I think they were the best team throughout the course of this season. How they rate with other ones, I'm not sure. We'll wait to see if they actually win one here. I do know that Boston they're still bitter there about 2010. They thought they should have won that against the Lakers. They thought refereeing did not help them in the fourth quarter of Game 7 that year. And they really thought they had the Warriors on the ropes 2 years ago, too, before letting Golden State back in from 2-1 down to win the series in 6. So, I think odds are they're going to probably win this thing. I just don't know that they're going to roll through this because back to the Indiana series, that was tight. And, they could have lost at least 3 of those games very easily. And, they played Indiana without Halliburton the last 2 games. So I don't think it's going to be easy, but I would expect they'll probably end up winning this thing in, if not 5, 6 or 7. I don't think there'll be a sweep, but they're in the driver's seat.
Bruce, you almost can't mention one Boston Celtics or the Los Angeles Lakers without mentioning the other one. And I said yesterday, as soon as that story broke about Dan Hurley potentially going to be the next head coach of the Lakers, that it was not coincidence. In Laker world, they wanted to knock a little bit off the marquee. Boston, and it's impossible to knock the whole series out, but I think they're going to drag this out in the rumor mill and the league sources report. They're going to try to stay in the headlines with this. The Lakers-Celtics rivalry is entirely driven by meeting for championships because with the East versus West thing, they only play twice, and sometimes it's a real long time in between those in the regular season for the one trip to one place and the other one returning. Around sports, you could make a strong case this is the best rivalry that's totally born out of playing for a championship.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's, in a couple of different eras for it. It hasn't happened 2010, I guess, last time it happened. And they had one in 08. Before that, you had to go back into the 80s when, the Bird, the Bird Magic rivalry heated up 3 times. They met in the finals. I still say the 84 series was a much more important series than a lot of people give it credit for. It's not quite that, as soon as Bird and Magic got in the league that everything heightened. It took a few years for that to really ferment, and it really exploded in 84, which was a great finals in 84 and very dramatic. But then back to the 60s. There's so much history there, but I think, you're definitely right because this has been a championship-born rivalry. We just haven't got to see that much of it in the last, 40 years or so, but we're not going to see it again this year, and I'm not sure when we're going to see it, but it keeps coming up whenever one of these two is playing for the title.
This weekend in Interleague, we get Yankees and Dodgers, and they would make a strong case for that rivalry, mostly out of World Series, and now they run into each other. But NFL, they play each other so often in college, even sometimes it's a lot of years in between. You run into a new team. The coaching news. Were you shocked? Brian and I, we like everybody else, we had J.J. Redick's acceptance speech ready, and now it doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like it's going to be from the college ranks, and the Lakers have done that before. Way back in the late 60s, back-to-back coaches they hired from the college ranks, Butch Van Bradykoff and then Joe Mulaney.
Yeah, that's right. And Van Bradykoff got him to the finals both years, but he ran afoul of Wilt in the Game 7 of the 69 final.
And he was out.
And Mel Counts was playing in his place. I remember listening to that game. And then Mulaney came in from Providence, and he got him to the finals his first year. And he was the coach, opposite the Willis Reed game in Game 7 in the 70 against the Knicks. And then he coached the next year before he left, and then Bill Sharman took over. So, they've done that before. This one's kind of come out of left field, but nobody really saw this. But, they're apparently meeting this afternoon. I think we might hear – when I first heard this, I thought this was sort of it's something maybe Hurley's doing to get the mill up to speed at, a little bit more at UConn. But then you start reading a little bit more. The Lakers are going to be throwing a lot more money at him. I mean, a lot more money. And when I heard that Jeannie Buss entertained Dan Hurley's wife, Andrea, before Hurley even came out to California, kind of showed her around. I think Jeannie knows, you get the wife, on board with this, and that's the pressure point there is going to be too much for Hurley to say no. And by the way, what more? If you're Mrs. Hurley, you get to be under the wing of Jeannie Buss in L.A. You know, that's the A-lister of A-listers in L.A., and all of a sudden you're her partner going out and, you know, there you go, shopping and all. Listen, I think this is a done deal. I think it's going to happen maybe as soon as tonight.
Holy cow. Wow. Okay, so let's say something does happen tonight, something happens tomorrow even, and Dan Hurley is announced as the head coach of the Lakers. For UConn, it feels like this late into the game, I mean, already into June, it feels like they would need to just probably promote from within for at least this year, try to keep that roster intact, because those guys will have 30 days to enter the transfer portal. What does UConn do if this happens?
Well, that's a good question, and that's a risky thing to just hire from within.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do it, so I think they'd try to go out and find somebody now if they could. It's a little late, but I mean, this is still a primo program. Let's not forget.
True.
The last three coaches they've had there have all won national titles. Calhoun, Kevin Ollie even did,
Good point.
and Hurley, but. I still think, though, even though they've won a lot of national titles here, they're not far from slipping down. It's not that they got some history. That is not the garden spot of the world in Storrs, Connecticut. And the last few years of the Ollie regime, I think, if they don't make the right hire, and that started to unravel with Ollie there after they won that title in 2014. That's what we might see from UConn more. So, but unless they thought where they could promote would be the guy eventually, I think they'd try to go out, and I'm having trouble thinking where they would go right now. By the way, I did think the Lakers. I was expecting maybe Jay Wright to get involved in the Laker search. He seemed like more of a proper NBA sort of fit to me, but he's also 10 years older than Hurley, and I think he maybe has had it with coaching. He's got a nice TV gig now. Probably not going to happen, but that would have been my first thought if you asked me a few days ago, who should the Lakers contact? I would have said Jay Wright. But it looks like they went the other direction.
Our guest, the great Bruce Marshall, talking all things with us from Las Vegas, Vegas Insider, BamSports.net, and often at CBS Sports. He's on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Famously, the last time a national champion coach left for the NBA was Larry Brown, all but chased out of Kansas. But he left after winning it all at KU. And that summer, they made the terrific hire of Roy Williams. That's Kansas. That's not UConn. And then that gets you in the tug of war of UConn. Are they a blue blood or not? I think this hire will speak a lot about their blue blood status. If they have to settle on an assistant coach, they'll do it under the guise of keeping everybody there with the vultures, won't swoop in with NIL. But I think it's more of an admission of we can't go make that big splashy hire. You mentioned Jay Wright for the Lakers. If I'm UConn, I get Jay Wright on the record saying no for that job.
Yeah, sure. I think he'd be the first guy to call. I mean, I'll probably say no, but I'd call him for sure. And the timing for UConn here. I mean, if this happened a year ago, and let's say before Ed Cooley left Providence, I mean that's the sort of guy they might have wanted to bring in, but he's done Georgetown. Since then.
And they got their Neal right at Georgetown.
Yeah, and they do have their Neal right now, so he's not going anywhere. So they're going to have to stick this hire here, but I do think I don't think they're just going to promote from within. I think they're going to look around and see where they go with it. But I'm trying to think who would be the top guy who would lead a big program right now and come into UConn at this late stage. I'm having trouble thinking who it would be. I'm sure
Jeff Goodman threw out Bruce Pearl.
That's possible. I could see. Pearl could always be in play. Some of those names that we heard, for Kentucky before they brought Pope in, that might be possible too. So I do think they'll go outside the family there and to look for somebody at least.
I mean, that completely throw a wrench into college basketball. If Dan Hurley leaves, now they're looking for a head coach, and all those guys can enter the transfer portal. I mean, that would be
and if they land a coach, let's say I don't think Pearl would leave, but if they did, then Auburn's looking, and what does that set off? The chain reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Pearl would really, would listen to some of these openings that came up, and apparently he was sounded out, and he likes what he's got at Auburn now, and he's got a pretty good situation. The Nil is working there. He can get all the players in that he needs. I mean, he's got a free slate there now, so they'll contact him. I'm not sure that's where where UConn would find its next coach. But listen, I do think they're a blue blood. I mean, you got to. I mean, they won 6 national titles here. Yeah. So you got to call them that.
Well, what you got to do? I do. I have a suspicion that Bruce Pearl, for all the reasons you just listed, that he naturally does. And there is a lot to like about living in Auburn. It's living in Mayberry. It is just really, really, really nice. But I think I suspect he has it set up in an agreement for Stephen to take over as head coach at his retirement.
Yeah, I think that's probably true as well.
Yeah. Talking to Bruce Marshall from Vegas Insider, CBS Sports, and BAMSports.net. Another weekend of Major League Baseball. Is there anything, any series that you're really keeping an eye on? Anything you like tonight in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, the Yankees are an underdog here tonight against the Dodgers. Now, the pitching matchup, maybe you think, okay, Yamamoto against Poteet. Poteet's right at the back of the Yankee rotation. He's only had a couple of games. But, I mean, this team has won 8 in a row. They've outscored the foes 43-20. The Dodgers have been struggling lately, and they're an underdog here at home. I don't quite get that. I mean, it's the starting pitchers are, this is 4 or 5 innings with Poteet anyway. It's to the bullpen. Yankees are awfully hot to be giving them that sort of a price at home. So I would look at that. Maybe the Reds tonight, too. They have turned things around, and all of a sudden, the National League, there's some open space there. I mean, the Brewers are still ahead in the Central, but there's the wild cards, and all of a sudden the Reds are back in the race. Lodolo has pitched pretty well. The Cubs have not been impressing me. They lost again last night. They could have lost both those games to the White Sox this week. Steele has struggled in recent starts. I could see the Reds there. Maybe a total out in Anaheim tonight. Angels pitching has been pretty good lately. Canning has been one of the guys who's pitched well. They actually they won their first series of the season at home the other night. All low-scoring games against the Padres in that 3-game sweep. Houston comes in tonight with Framber Valdez. He did get touched up by the Angels a little short of 2 weeks ago in Houston, but his other starts have been really good lately. They got this total up about 8.5. I'm thinking lower scoring tonight. Lower scoring has worked for the Angels and unders a lot lately, and I think it works again tonight.
I like that. Bruce, Stanley Cup Finals start tomorrow night, Edmonton in Florida. We just made our picks at the end of the last hour. Brett and I are split. I'm going with Edmonton. He's going with Florida. Who do you like in these Stanley Cup Finals, and who do you like tomorrow night in Game 1?
I like an under. I think it's a lower scoring series. Edmonton sort of adjusted its style here ever since they benched Skinner and put Pickard in for a couple of games, and then brought Skinner back, and he's played very well in goal. But they have been doing such a good job defensively blocking shots. They've stopped 28 straight on the penalty kill. I'm not sure they can continue that. I think Florida is just so solid. They're strong down the middle. They just shut everybody down. Barkov does a great. I mean, he just kept the Panarin and Zibanejad in check in the last round. I think they're the best team. They got a great goalie too. Even though Skinner played well in the last round, I kind of like Bobrovsky more. I kind of think Florida here, so I'm going to lean to the Panthers and maybe a lower scoring game off the bat tomorrow night.
Bruce, I really do regret and lament what we've just done to the Triple Crown races in horse racing, to the Belmont. We would have started with that with you today if it were going for a Triple Crown. Is it Triple Crown or bust now for horse racing and horse racing aficionados?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, this one they're running up in Saratoga this year because they're redoing the whole Belmont facility there. But the last time they did that in the 60s, they ran the Belmont at Aqueduct. Like Belmont's whole meeting was at Aqueduct between like 63 and 67. They're going up to Saratoga for like 4 days, and then this is not. I mean, they've been running at Aqueduct lately. Belmont's been running its meeting at Aqueduct, but Aqueduct, they've changed it now, and it's not quite able to house a big crowd like it was since they put the casino in there. Yeah, I mean, it's lost some. I'm not even sure if I'm going to watch tomorrow.
I'm not either. I will probably forget. In Pimlico going through kind of the same renovation?
Yeah, that's true. And it's going to be much different seeing that thing at Saratoga if we watch. But, I mean, there's no Triple Crown on the line. And this is the double-edged sword, how they promoted this thing. They overdo the Triple Crown so much, and once beyond the previous, if you don't have that, I mean, the Belmont becomes an afterthought, and that's unfortunate. That wasn't always that way. Belmont used to be a really big deal long ago, no matter Triple Crown or not. But this year, different venue, it looks like it's going to be an afterthought.
Yeah, it definitely is. Bruce, where can we find more of you?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Check me out online at VegasInsider.com. And we got picks. We got a lot of baseball tonight. Baseball's going okay. NBA, NHL. It's all there. We're still got those big three, at least for another week or so. VegasInsider.com. You can also see my stuff at CBS Sportsline. That's at sportsline.com.
Bruce, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll do it again next Friday.
Okay, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Bruce Marshall with us from Vegas Insider every Friday. And, Brian, this is a real good test case for the new world of college sports for UConn. They have established themselves as blue blood in college basketball. They've earned it.
Right.
But I don't think you can make it when you're attempting to, and they're at least attempting to play, air quotes here, big-time college football, but the bell cow is still basketball.
Yeah.
I think you've got to have some support from football for not a lean time, a surprising time. Nobody in UConn world saw this coming.
No, not at all. I mean, this was as much of a shock as it was.
He said
for
no
us.
to Kentucky. They thought, we got him forever.
Perfect. He's gonna be UConn for life. No, and I was listening to a podcast the other day when this news came out, and they were discussing this, and they were talking about when you're UConn, you've got good money, and NIL I'm sure is fine, but with now what is changing with college athletics. Now those big conferences, SEC and Big 12 and some of those other Big 10, some of those other conferences that have good basketball programs, those NIL funds and that money, that bank that they can go to now for players just gets even more, even bigger, and a lot of that has to do with the football side of things. And with UConn not having that side, it really hurts them, and you're going to see it hurt now if Dan Hurley leaves. And with what Bruce said of he thinks they go out and try to get an actual replacement for Dan Hurley, which that could completely flip the college basketball world upside down. We've already this offseason had the most coaching turnover of any offseason in the modern era. And, it could get even crazier if they actually go out and try to replace Dan Hurley with a sitting head coach.
And, Brian, it's why I always opposed it. I'm not going to say it rose to even a serious discussion level, but it would come up some, and I always would go, no, can't even entertain that idea of, you had some saying, well, the Tigers just need to recognize it can't be done in football, so let's either, go back to the Valley or maybe try to get in something like that eventually became, take two of the Big East. And I'm going, no, and rejected it for this reason. Tiger football has a lot more history than I think a lot of people understand. And very few understand it, really, outside of Shelby County.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right.
I was on a show with Brent Beard's brother, Brett Beard, and his partner, Harold Bugg, in Florence, Alabama the other day, and we started with Tiger football talk. Wow. And Harold Bugg had a history here of being at Channel 3 way back in the 70s. And he said, I never thought I would talk about that. And then I defended the 70s. There were some good teams.
Certainly.
Lucky Lloyd Patterson was big time.
Oh, yeah.
Trudell Middleton, other stars, Keith Butler, other stars, Ernest Gray, great players of the 70s. I don't think it's appreciated enough and not appreciated an ounce outside of Shelby County, but growing, but starting.
Certainly starting to grow, and that's definitely big. But yeah, I think everybody remembers those times where let's get rid of football or go FCS or do something and just have all our focus on basketball, and I'm glad they did not do that, and that it was not considered. Because you're right, there is a rich history, and believe me, I've heard plenty of stories about some of those great teams from the '70s, and some really good Tiger
and
programs.
if we had all these bowls now, that would have really, if we'd had that then, that would have really changed things of starting a tradition of going to those with some really good teams that were playing juggernaut schedules.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So, no, but it's going to be interesting what happens at UConn because I think a lot of things, if Bruce is right and we see a change in the next couple of days, I think a lot is going to change in college basketball and certainly for UConn. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we talked a little bit about the NBA Finals Game 1 last night. We'll talk more on the other side. Stick with us. You're listening to Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
With a cast of returning stars ready for the big stage. The momentum for Memphis football is on the rise. It's time to so purchase your tickets today at GoTigersGo.com.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quirky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easier to last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. And last night, Game 1 of the NBA Finals, it was all Boston pretty much all night. It was really back and forth the first 5 or 6 minutes of that game. The third quarter they make a big run and get it down to about 7 or 8. But other than that, it was all Boston. Really, really impressive play by them. The story during the game last night and really into today has been the play of Kristaps Porzingis coming back. I think a lot of it, is kind of what we talked about earlier of, he's been out for a while, and the biggest question was, how much is he going to play? How effective is he going to be? It was reported before the game that he wasn't going to start. He was going to come off the bench. And then he comes out there and looks great and gives them some extremely good minutes, 20 points, and was the story of the game last night. But can he carry that over throughout this entire series? That will be the big question.
That would be the question. Bruce Marshall made a good point about, they did that last night without anything Herculean at all from Jason Tatum, and we know he's got magic somewhere in one of these next. Well, to get three more wins and win a championship, he's got the big go off night.
Oh, 100%. And with Jason Tatum, it feels like it could come at any moment, and you're just kind of waiting on it. And but for them to be able to win like they did last night without a big game from him, I think probably makes Boston fans feel really good about what they can do in this series.
Yeah, when you can kind of win, not big game, but certainly not having to go to the mat.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say B game because I thought they played great. But like you said, I mean, it didn't look like they were breaking much of a sweat. They had that game.
It was pretty efficient.
Midway through the second quarter, you could have turned the channel and said, yep, Boston's going to win this game.
That was a good nugget from Bruce about the leads they've had all year. I didn't realize that. And now thinking about it, all year they were just, they were dominant.
Oh, man. I mean, super dominant.
That number of wins showed it.
That's right. And so, you look at, I always loved, late in the season going and look at the Eastern Conference standings and just seeing, in the West, it's, 3 teams less than a game separated from each other for first place.
And we sniff at the East.
Sure. And then in the East, it's Boston and then 15 games below them is, team in second place. It's incredible.
And another thing, I think those Golden State set into the 70s and threatening at other times, I think that made us maybe not appreciate just that old workman-like 64 win season.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think you're absolutely right. We don't appreciate it. And Brett, I'll be honest. Even in these playoffs, I don't know how many people have appreciated this Celtics team.
64 wins, 4-0, 4-0, 4-1. And I was close to taking the bait yesterday. I didn't.
Sure.
I went back and just wanted to think about October to now. But Dallas got really hot when it really matters, April to now.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I was worried yesterday about, we always talk about,
I take either year for the Grizzlies. Grizzlies win 64
100%.
or get hot.
I don't care how it comes, Brett. Get me there. But no, I think.
And Brian, I've talked about it a lot of times. Can you imagine? We're going to have it one of these sweet days. I hope soon. Hope I get to enjoy it. We're going to have it. NBA Finals set in Memphis. One of these days, we'll get there.
No, we definitely will, and it's going to be super exciting when it is. But Brett, I brought it up yesterday. We talk so much about teams getting hot, and this Dallas team getting hot, those quote-unquote role players, those other guys outside of Luka and Kyrie stepping up and really making a difference. And I said, when you're rolling and you're playing every couple of days, you can stay hot. But, when you've got a long period of off days, that's when you can kind of lose some of that. And we saw a little bit of that last night with Dallas with some of those key guys maybe not stepping up in game one. So I think that's my biggest question going into game two. Can they get those really good minutes from Gafford? Can Gafford step back in and, have one of those big games? Derek Jones Jr., PJ Washington hit some shots, but, the 3-point shooting that we had seen.
Didn't make a lot of noise with them.
No, not at all. You only got 5 minutes from Derek Lively last night. Can those guys that you've relied on?
He's okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Those guys that you relied on this entire playoffs, can they come back and be the difference makers that they were throughout the West?
Do you think the moment was a little big for Dallas?
You know, it might have been.
Sure might have been. I touched on that in my top story. I don't think I ever was definitive. I thought it was. Yeah, I do. I thought the setting, and you look up there and you see all those banners, and you look down there and you see that parquet, and you look around and you see that star-studded crowd, and this is different.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, being there and, game one, and you in that atmosphere and that type of arena, and you start letting it get away from you, and I think very quickly those fans can get on top of you, and before you know it, that game's gone, and you're where you were last night with, down by a ton and really struggling. So, yeah, I
What many lobs working to Gafford and Lively last night?
No. I mean, and that's the thing. That's, what kind of adjustments do they make going into game two? Because I think a lot of stuff that seemed to be working throughout the Western Conference, they just weren't working last night.
Did you have a prop bet on over and under 10 seconds for Xavier Tillman to play?
No, I did not.
If you didn't take the under, you lost.
Yeah, no, I did not have anything on.
Never went to scores table
on Tillman, and it's. I really hate it that because I think everyone here loved Tillman and liked him being here. He did not. No, he does not. And really has not seen a lot of playing time since he's gotten to Boston, and certainly not in these playoffs, and certainly not last night.
Bruce thought Dan Hurley move could come tonight.
Man, holy, that shocked me. And maybe he's right. Because and here's Captain Obvious coming in. I think it's either it happens tonight or we're waiting a week or two for a decision. I don't think there's anything in the middle. But I don't know. I think he takes it.
He might wait for this reason to help UConn. All right. I'm going, but I'm going. I've talked to the Lakers.
Sure.
This is just speculation on my part. If it's on the ladder, if it's more time, y'all start working now on getting stuff in order.
Yeah.
Going to these players.
Sure.
This is who, especially if you're hiring on from the inside.
Yeah.
You can get ahead of some of this, so it doesn't hit you like a torrent when he has his Hollywood presser that he's going to the Lakers.
Sure, and that's going to be interesting, and I think try to figure that out. Maybe go back to them tonight, tomorrow, and say, look, I'm going to take it, but y'all need to decide. And hopefully UConn's already trying to figure out, look, if he does take this, do we want to go out and try to hire somebody, or do we want to hire from within? And hopefully they at least have that down. And then you go to those assistants and try to figure out what you want. But who knows? Dan Hurley might take one of those assistants with him or a couple of those assistants with him to the Lakers. So a lot of questions, and I think a lot of restless nights for people in Storrs, Connecticut this weekend.
It will be, because that's their thing. They were never comfortable in the AAC. They dreamed and pined of being back in the Big East, and it's worked for them.
It has.
In football, Jim Mora, he was okay 2 years ago. What 3-9 last year?
Yeah, not a good year. 3-9 last year.
A good friend of mine just sent a really funny thing. Sent the 24-4 final FSU over UConn.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he sent the eyes emoji, from on iPhone.
Yeah.
Got Norvell calling the offense.
That's great.
Good.
That's really good. Wow, yeah. Oh, man. Norvell knows how to dial it up, I tell you that much.
He stepped in with baseball today.
That's right. How
Save
about that?
some of those runs.
No, definitely save some of those runs. No, it's been interesting these first two games. And, wow, looking now, Tennessee just going yard. 3-run shot to really open this one up. Evansville has played well today. But now this game has turned from a 8-5 game to an 11-5 game.
And that's Evansville's ace.
Yeah. I think
Tennessee, I think, just has more. And I think it goes through that. We'll talk with Richard Cross about that at the top of this hour on all things college baseball. Looking good for the Big Orange right now. I didn't think it was dumb suggesting UConn just maybe quietly reach out to Jay Wright and just ask.
Well,
I love that. Do it out in the public and cause the rent to go up.
No, maybe not. But hey, I think any job that comes open that is that big of a job. I mean, UConn is a blue blood. They have, I mean, Bruce said it.
Well, are they?
They are, Brett. They're a blue blood.
And we keep trying to convince
No,
ourselves of it, don't we?
I mean, 6 national champions. The last 3 coaches have won a natty. I think you got to say they are a basketball blue blood.
It's like the U in football.
Sure.
They are. They did it all in a short time frame, like
That's
UConn.
true.
But are they really?
How about this? Let's call him a modern day blue blood. Can we do that? I mean,
well, if you got to qualify it, then you ain't.
Well, I want to say they're a blue blood. You're the one that needs to convince
I know.
me. But Brett, you know me. I
know
love all college
if
basketball
that
too.
were the Tigers, how we'd be strutting
Sure.
around.
I mean, we would
should be.
We'd be ripping anybody that was questioning, are they a blue blood? I mean,
check our trophy case out.
What have you won lately?
Right.
You know? But no, I mean, I think any job. Okay, I'll take blue blood out of that. Standard of recent success that they certainly have something rolling there. I think you've got to make that call and make him tell you no. Jay, look, we need a coach right now.
See.
What do you think? If he says no, okay, next option. If he says yes, then you got something working.
I just got a text from a friend. They're not hold the line. I don't know that I'm really holding the line.
Brett,
I want to say they are.
You're kind of on the fence. It feels like you're in the middle of the line. It feels like when you're playing tug of war, the guy that's in the middle trying to start it and determine who wins it, the tape. Mm-hmm. You're the tape. I mean, that's you right now.
I mean, if they're not, boy, you see a lot acting like they are in that sport and in others.
Oh, absolutely. I'm team blue. I'm team UConn blue blood. U blood.
I think I am.
You don't know what you are, Brad.
I don't.
You have no clue.
This coaching hire will tell me if they are.
Because
if you are, you go get an aircraft carrier.
Yeah. I mean, oh man.
If you're not, you play small ball. Well, you're small ball.
That's true, but I could see a lot of coaches saying, "Man, it's June 8th, June 9th, June 10th. By the time we get to Monday, I've got my team already ready. We're a top 25 contender this year. We're going to be preseason.
Don't want to start over.
Yeah, I just, maybe next year. I wish this happened earlier, and I'm going to stay where I'm at. I could see a lot of that if UConn comes open.
Too.
But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a busy weekend in stores to see what happens with Dan Hurley if he takes this job. Supposed to be meeting with Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss some point today in L.A., so we'll see what happens. I did not know, that was news to me from Bruce, that Jeannie Buss had met with Dan Hurley's wife, kind of showed her around town. That was news to me, so I think that's a positive development if you are in the camp that you want L.A. to hire Dan Hurley. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Belting. They keep you moving.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
This is hard to believe, but the Hyundai Santa Fe is actually better. I know, that's crazy, isn't it? The 2024 Santa Fe is new, top to bottom, and even better than before. It's almost as big as the Palisade, so roomy, and now it's got a standard third row. Everybody's clamoring for that. And it's the best SUV when it comes to the ride than ever before. You know how with SUVs you love it because you're sitting high, but you don't get that luxury kind of ride like a sedan? You do with the 2024 Santa Fe. It's the best riding SUV ever, and it's quiet. It's the ultimate family car. All you've got to do to be sold is to test drive it. The people at Homer Skelton Hyundai are saying, come try it. You'll love it. Homer Skelton Hyundai, right at the corner of Highway 78 and Craft Road. First exit in Mississippi. Go see the ultimate SUV, the 2024 Santa Fe.
Summertime's finally here, and that means it's time to party. Lucky for you, Family Leisure is having a summertime to party sale. Now, what's all included in this party sale? Practically everything. 24-foot above ground pools for as little as $19.99. All ladders, filter systems, and even robotic cleaners are 20% off. Come in and look at all of the in-stock patio furniture Family Leisure has. Plus, it's up to 50% off. Play gyms for the kids, that's $1,000 off. Patio umbrellas, take 20% off. You can get a 4-person hot tub for just under $3,000. We know you're really going to just use it for yourself. Family Leisure has discounted pricing on all in-stock pool toys and floats while the supplies last, so you better get in quick. Plus, Family Leisure has special financing available. Just ask an associate for all the details. Summertime means party time, and Family Leisure is ready for any party. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun all come together.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call, hit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
It's silly season in the life of your roof. I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. The weather can be unpredictable, and I'm ready to get more life out of your roof with our award-winning Owens Corning repair team. We're the repair guys the other repair guys call when they can't find the problem. Leaks become black mold when ignored. That's why when you call me, I start my inspection in the attic. Is it time for a beautiful new roof? 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space and get you an estimate right over the phone. The best warranty in the business, including a warranty against ice dams. The only roofer in Memphis to offer a warranty against water intrusion due to snow buildup. Ask about military and first responder discounts. 901-867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com. Now back to Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, today my big number is pretty short, sweet, and to the punch. I saw it last night, and I had to bring it up because I just think it is remarkable. My big number is the number 4. Last night, Oklahoma won their 4th straight softball college World Series, so their 4th straight national championship. They actually beat Texas in that game. So both those teams that just
Red
played
River
each other,
shootout on the diamond with the
that?
circle.
How about that? Oh, I love that, Brett. I love that. So both those teams that just competed in the national championship, both rivals, both coming to the SEC. So SEC softball, look out. But Oklahoma, 4 straight. So that means the seniors on that team, will have won a national championship in all 4 years that they
Rings
are on
for
campus.
everybody.
I mean, talk about when we always talk about those.
That's like Oprah giving away TVs.
I mean,
and everybody gets a TV. Everybody gets a ring.
When you're talking about the memories of when they go back in 20 years, imagine going back in 20 years, 40 years and saying, yeah, when I was here, I got a ring every single year I was here. That's incredible. That's crazy.
That's unreal.
I mean, just
you
imagine.
to go back to those reunions and have one.
Sure. Oh, exactly. To
go back to those, and we went to a Final Four.
Yes. We just made noise. We won 4 straight
SEMO.
national champions. Exactly. It's crazy.
Last weekend, my big number, I promised several weeks ago, it would be nothing but college football big numbers on Friday all the way through Friday, the 24th of January. That will be after the Monday final that night, Monday, January 20th. So my big number today is 15. This year in college football, 15 teams not playing an FCS opponent. And anybody in the SEC, everybody in the SEC should be on this list. Very few are. Arizona State, Houston, Jacksonville State, Miami of Ohio, Michigan. Michigan last played a non-FBS team in 1941 when they played Carnegie Mellon. Ohio State, Old Dominion, Penn State, Sam Houston. You're waiting for SEC teams, aren't you?
I am.
Temple, I just got to one. Texas, UCLA, USC, and Virginia Tech. It is shameful, these schedules played in SEC, to actually charge people real hard-earned money to go out and sit. I don't care if you go out and sit in a Chase Lounge and you have seat service for everybody in the stadium to see them play. People like Wofford and Furman and Alabama A&M and UAPB and all these non-FBS teams.
Yeah.
Get somebody from FBS to play, preferably somebody from your neighborhood.
Certainly. Let's get some substance. I mean, I'm with you. I'm kind of tired of seeing all the FCS opponents.
It's awful.
Don't need to see them.
It's the hardest games to get ready for, and nobody cares.
No, nobody at all. That's a really good big number. I love that. Brett, I've got the Tennessee and Evansville game on my iPad. You know how much I love watching games on my iPad. And we talked so much about Evansville, especially last weekend, how they got a little peacock in them. They like to strut their stuff. They like to let their be seen.
That's baseball.
Sure, that is. But the fans, I just saw a fan. They just showed him coming back from a break. A Evansville fan that, first off, is holding playing cards that are all aces, and it's a great prop to carry around. But he's wearing a shirt that says, that very clearly he had made this week, that says, "Hey, East Carolina, aren't you supposed to be here?"
Ooh. How about that?
Wow.
That's going in deep, isn't
it? Sure is.
And now this week, East Carolina's had everybody run for the door of the portal.
Oh, yeah, and that's, college baseball does not get a lot of eyes when it comes to the transfer portals, but yeah, you see a lot of that. These teams have success. Heck, I heard them talking about it last week.
Especially now with what the SEC will be able to pay.
Oh, 100%. And I don't even know how this is possible.
In scholarships.
Sure, absolutely. I don't know how this is possible, but unless he was just mistaken. But last weekend on Squeeze Play, I was watching Squeeze Play, and they were talking about Penn baseball. They were kind of the story last year of how well they played, made it out of the regionals. This year was playing, and one of the guys on Squeeze Play said, a couple of these guys playing for Penn right now are already committed to SEC schools for next year. And I was like, what? And he was talking about, like, one guy's committed to, like, Alabama, the other's committed to, like, South Carolina. He was like, they're going to be massive for those teams next year. And it blew my mind because I just, and obviously it's not as talked about as football and basketball. But
I didn't know it.
I didn't either. I had no idea. And maybe he was mistaken. Maybe those guys are just getting interest from those schools. I have no idea. But, so baseball, you get knocked out of the tournament, and a lot of these small schools that make noises, those top players very quickly enter that portal and get picked up by one of these big-time SEC, ACC, Big 12
Penn
schools.
lost that heartbreaker in the Ivy League tournament to Yale, didn't they? In basketball?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because I was going to say, good sports year for Penn.
I mean, hey, I guess when you're in Ivy League school and we're talking about you, it's good sports here,
Yeah. And last weekend, I don't think anybody thought they would win.
No, but it was still a good story. I think everyone remembered what they did last year, and so there was kind of some, hey, look, Pinn's back. That's fun, good for them. So, but no, I don't think anybody saw them making noise, and they certainly didn't.
That Yale win was some upset in the Ivy League tournament.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. It was
in basketball.
Yeah, and then they went out and beat Auburn in that first game, so in the NCAA tournament. So
and Bama fans love to say Yale says hey.
Yale says hey. I guess good sports year for the Ivy. How about that? Look at the Ivy League out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I guess. But we need to get to a break and wrap up our second hour. But before we do that, I got to tell you, we're almost to the weekend, and I know maybe you're looking for a place to watch a game, just maybe a night out, a bar to hang out with some friends. Let me tell you, I got the spot for you. It's Bell Tavern, located at 117 Barbaro Alley, right behind 117 Prime. We're open from 4 to 11 Wednesday through Saturday and 4 to 8 on Sundays. Look, I know nobody likes a loud bar where you can't hear yourself think, much less talk, but that's the opposite of Bell Tavern. Start your night with a gourmet burger and one of their great cocktails in a quiet, dimly lit bar that you can enjoy a game at with your friends. And they don't even consider it a sports bar. Why would you? It's just a great bar, but they've got all the TVs, so you'll never miss any of the action. And it's not just the burgers. Bell Tavern has the best bar food in Memphis and also the coldest beer in the city. For more information about our friends at Bell Tavern, give them a call, 901-249-6580, or go online to belltavern.com. Like I said, we need to get to a break, so let's go ahead and get to that. When we come back, we've got to talk some more college baseball. We were just talking about what was going on in the regional, super regional action, but when we come back, we're talking to Richard Cross from Sports Talk Mississippi.
estate companies out there, but then there's Banyan Tree Realtors on the Cottonville Town Square. There are hands-on, family-owned boutique real estate companies whose agents have been offering exceptional attention to their clients for over 40 years. In an ever-changing world, Banyan Tree continues to maintain a small-town personal charm while providing a worldwide connection through its internet marketing presence. Personal service will never go out of style at Banyan Tree Realtors. Their agents are people you can trust, offering service you deserve. From residential homes to commercial properties, farmland, land lots, and historical houses, Banyan Tree has the expertise you can rely on. So if you're downsizing, upsizing, moving in, or moving on, give Banyan Tree Realtors a call today. Craig Smith and Mary Jean Smith and their agents are ready to serve you. Call today at 901-620-8920 or 901-359-2520.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
You know, sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Witten Road.
You know our trusted partner TireRack.com for their fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, convenient installation options, and their great selection of best tires, like the highly consumer-rated Toyo Open Country AT3. But did you know they sell other automotive products? Wheels, brakes, suspension, just to name a few. Go to TireRack.com/Colin. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Summer's heating up, and so are the savings at Choate's. We've got 3 incredible offers to make your season spectacular. First up, our Grill and Chill with Choate's Summer Special. Upgrade your HVAC system and choose between a free Yeti cooler or a Green Egg grill on select systems. Then power through any outage with Choate's generators. Be one of the first 50 customers to buy a generator and score a massive 75-inch TV or an iPad. Also, don't forget about our tankless water heater offer. Purchase a tankless water heater from Choate's and receive a premium toilet free. Don't wait. These offers are too good to last. Turn to the experts with Choate's and call 347-8086 or visit us online today for your free estimate. Now introducing Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. Choate's. Let our family serve your family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Here's what we're seeing. Slow traffic already over here, but hey, it's Friday. It's not going to surprise you. On 240 East at Poplar, trying to get up past Walnut Grove. It seems like it's getting heavier by the minute. Traffic's cranking up on 240 East from Mill Branch out to 385. Still not bad right now on Billmore's Parkway going outbound as you continue on out into Collierville. Hey, 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services right here in Memphis. Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios as we start our third and final hour. And joining us to talk some college baseball from Sports Talk Mississippi, Richard Cross joins us now. Richard, thanks so much for joining us. A very busy weekend last week with regional action. This week we've got super regional play already started going through the weekend. But for the SEC, we've talked a lot about the weekend for the SEC. There were some real highs with getting 5 teams to the super regionals, but also you had Arkansas hosting and not making it out. You had Vanderbilt really not show up last weekend in the regionals. What was your reaction? What did you make of the regionals for the SEC?
Well, happy Friday, fellas.
Happy
Great
Friday.
to be with you. It's rare that we get to do this, so a pleasure to visit with you. I thought the regional round overall last weekend was spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
As you looked around the country, you saw, especially when the home teams were playing, great crowds at places that you expect them, right? I mean, you expect it to be packed at Arkansas, and it was. I had the Charlottesville Regional last weekend, really good crowds in Charlottesville. I think college baseball is in a really healthy place. I would love to see it get a little bit more promotion from the good people at ESPN than it gets. But I thought Squeeze Play was cool. It was a really neat way to consume a lot of baseball over a really busy weekend. I think you're exactly right. I mean, that Vanderbilt team I thought they were a bit of an enigma all season long. You look at them, and from a talent standpoint, there's plenty of it, but they never really put it together. Maybe not quite as good on the mound this year as they've been some years. When Arkansas loses the game that Hagen Smith pitches, all of a sudden it gets kind of weird. And the question about Arkansas all season long, they were so elite on the mound, was would they have enough offense if they get into a spot where maybe the pitching wasn't as good as it needed to be, and it turned out that was not the case. Good win for Kansas State. I thought the Southeast Missouri State story, maybe Arkansas fans didn't think it was a great story, but from an outsider's perspective, pretty cool. And Mississippi State kind of fell apart in the ninth inning of that regional final game against Virginia last week. Aside from that, played two really good games against Virginia. Lost the first one by a run, lost at the bottom of the ninth inning, and then was a one-run game going into the ninth inning of that second game before the wheels kind of came off. So really good. And then some of the favorites were, Georgia struggled a little early with Army. They had a great game with Georgia Tech, but good to see them advance. Tennessee kind of did what you expected they would do. That's such a good lineup, 1 through 9. You look at what Tennessee's got, trying to get through Evansville to get to Omaha, and feels pretty likely with that. So fun weekend. And I didn't even do what Chapel Thrill, as Mike Monaco called it, with that LSU North Carolina. That was so much fun, kind of over the course of the weekend. So a really, really good opening weekend, and I think sets up a fun super regional weekend.
It does set up a fun super regional weekend. Florida State's already walloped UConn today.
Ooh.
Has Arkansas become the new Florida State, Richard? I mean, they can get there. They can be at or near the College World Series, but they can't have a dog pile in Omaha.
Yeah, so Florida State is one win away from their 24th all-time appearance. Maybe that's the moniker. It certainly is not the moniker that you want to wear. It's still surprising that with all the success that Mike Martin had at Florida State, that he never was able to carry that trophy off the field. And, is that going to be the legacy of Dave Van Horn when it's all said and done? I think he's a phenomenal baseball coach. I think he's done a good job building a roster year after year. They've got all the fan support in the world. And, it popped up on Twitter or YouTube or somewhere the other day that play. They're 2 outs in the, I guess it's top of the ninth against Oregon State. Yeah. And you're like, catch the ball. What are you doing? Yeah. Catch the baseball.
Take a shoulder out.
And then, a couple of years ago when Ole Miss wins it all, I thought the national championship was decided in that winner tape call game between Ole Miss and Arkansas. And the Rebels were just a little bit better on that day. And so it's hard to win, though, right? I mean, it's hard to win a national championship in any sport. And, local fans here, Mississippi State fans, had been a long, long time. I guess it was the 12th trip to Omaha before Mississippi State finally won it. It had been, the story with Ole Miss baseball had been, not getting to Omaha enough. Then doggone it if they don't get there and win it in just their second trip under Mike Mianco. So it's hard to win it all, but yeah, I mean, for as good as Arkansas has been, for as long as they have been, you look at it and go, well, are you going to get it done? And I don't know if they will or not. Tough.
A lot of Arkansas fans want to compare the Arkansas baseball shortcomings to Mark Few and Gonzaga basketball. Richard, I've used Mark Rick at Georgia. Really good man. Somebody you'd be proud to have running your program. He's going to put representative teams out there. Going to keep his teams mostly keep their nose clean off the field. But at some point, you got to win it all for us. Georgia said, nope. We're done with this, and didn't enjoy having to do it, and they brought in Kirby Smart, and now they have what they thought was always rightfully theirs. Do you think this time next year Arkansas could be maybe saying we got to make a change? We're stuck in neutral.
Ooh, it is hard for me to wrap my mind around that idea, and here's why, Brett. I think getting to Omaha is the hardest part. I think winning it all is a little bit of a crapshoot. Once you get there, if you got the right pitching, you get the timely hits and all those things. The total body of work for Dave Van Horn is so good. That's a really tough sell for me. I think he's one of the, I don't know, what do you say, 3, 4, 5 best coaches in all of college baseball, and certainly I would say a top 10 coach in the history of college baseball. But
Mike Martin was at FSU.
Yeah, but there's that one piece that's missing from the legacy. The similarity to Arkansas and Georgia is you looked at Georgia for all those years and you go, everything is in place for them to do what they need to do. Now go do it. And Mark Richt was not able to get that done. It's the same thing at Arkansas. Everything is in place. The stadium, the fan base, the resources, the commitment to winning, but they haven't gotten over the hump. So it's a reasonable question. I don't see how you part ways with a guy like Dave Van Horn, given, again, that overall body of work. I mean, what has Nebraska done post Dave Van Horn? A few regionals, but he took Nebraska to 2 College World Series. Yeah. And obviously the Omahogs, I don't know if you go with that moniker or if you don't ever carry the trophy off the field, but they certainly have been a regular in Middle America in June.
All right, for the SEC to do it again, and it's where college baseball starts. Before I get to Oma Vols or Oma Aggies, before A&M and Tennessee gets there, Richard, so many of us say this, and you cover it so closely and know it so well, both day in, day out, and covering games in Oxford around the SEC last weekend with the regionals with your broadcast duties. We all say this. Is it accurate that the SEC in baseball is tougher than the SEC in football? Is that accurate?
Probably, but not as tough as the SEC is in softball.
That's true.
I mean, you think about that. You've got 13 of the current 14 teams in softball that, 3 out of the last 5 years, all 13 teams have gotten to regional play. And softball, the selection committee doesn't play some of the same games that the baseball selection committee does. They want to get cute and, talk about RPI. In softball, they say, okay, who are the best teams? I mean, Ole Miss, for an example.
What a novel idea.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, they got into a regional this year with like a 7-14 record in conference play. But they were one of the best 64 teams, and so they were in. Now, they didn't advance out of a regional, but they still one of the best teams, and so they put them in the regional. And now you're adding Texas and Oklahoma next year to the softball field, and so probably going to be 15-15 next year that get in. Those two teams that just played for a national championship, and Oklahoma won their 4th overall. So softball, I think, is the most difficult sport in the SEC. I would say baseball, yeah. And here's the thing. You used to have a number of teams where you go, well, that's a weekend where you very easily can sweep. Certainly you're going to win the series, even if it's on the road. Where does that exist now outside of Missouri?
Man.
And that's really not fair to Missouri because they were competitive. They just weren't very good.
That's right.
But even in those games, they were competitive. But, I mean, Kentucky has invested heavily in baseball. Now Nick Mingione's team is in a super regional in Lexington for the first time ever and trying to, get back and get to the College World Series for the first time. Obviously, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Arkansas, kind of the standard bearers in terms of attendance and facilities and all of those things. Florida's been, 8 times under Kevin O'Sullivan? That number may not be accurate, but it's close.
1 in 17.
Everybody cares. Everybody cares in college baseball in the SEC, and everybody not only cares, but they have shown that they care by the way they've invested in it. It's really, really hard.
No, it absolutely is. This weekend, Brett mentioned it, a lot of SEC, but Tennessee coming in as the number 1 overall seed in regional play and now into super regionals. What has set this team apart from maybe previous Tennessee teams in your eyes, and do you think that this is a team that we could be talking about dogpiling in a couple weeks?
Could be. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is starting pitching for Tennessee. Their bullpen is phenomenal. Tennessee, kind of like Arkansas, honestly, is one of those bullpens where they just run guy after guy after guy that's not 92 to 94, but is, 96 to 100. They're really deep in the bullpen. I think it's the best lineup that Tennessee has had, 1 through 9. There are just no easy outs in that lineup. Christian Moore has been phenomenal, but they don't have Chase Dollander and Chase Burns. I mean, those two guys are not in the rotation, and sometimes you get to Omaha, and it's a pitcher that carries you to a title. And, I don't mean to make this about Ole Miss. I know I've referenced them a couple of times, but you think back to the 22 season when Ole Miss won it all. Dylan DeLucia was phenomenal, and so was Hunter Elliott. And then they got a really important start out of, third guy, I can't remember his name right now, forgive me for that, and, got a a couple of really good relief appearances, one in particular from Mason Nichols in that run. And, they had a rock-solid closer at the end of the game. And so pitching kind of won that regional to go along with timely hitting and some big hits. For Tennessee, it's big hits, but can the offense carry them? Because I don't know if the arms can. It's honestly what was so impressive to me last weekend about Virginia. Virginia's got the second best batting average in the country. They set a team record this year with 123 home runs going into the postseason.
Wow!
But it was really Virginia's pitching last week that was good. They had three really good starts, including the guy in the final game against Mississippi State. His longest outing all season long was 4 innings. He went out and pitched 8 innings, struck out 8 and walked 1 and didn't give up a run after the second inning. So do you have somebody that kind of takes it to a different level on the mound? That's the only thing that concerns me about Tennessee.
Richard Cross, our friend from Sports Talk Mississippi, with us, talking all things College World Series, and we're going to get to a couple of football questions and a couple of these preseason predictions in a little bit. But, Richard, the other day we had Vince Ferrara on from WNML in Knoxville, and he works so very closely with Tennessee broadcast, and we got around to Danny White. And you and I both know Danny fairly well from his years as a lieutenant for Pete Boone in a star-studded office with a lot of people that really have gone on to be great directors of athletics at places, including Keith Carter at Ole Miss. I'm not surprised at all. We knew he would knock it out of the park, and he landed at a place. And look at the turnaround. Leadership really matters, doesn't it?
It does, and I think that there's some growth that you can point to with Danny White as an AD. I think he's really hit his stride. Obviously, he comes from good genes. His father, Kevin White, is considered to be one of the really good athletics directors in all of college athletics, and did it at some pretty high-profile places over the last 3 or 4 decades. I thought when Danny left Ole Miss, I wondered, there was some sizzle there, but was the substance there? And then he goes to UCF, and they do a lot of good things. He got Josh Heupel as the football coach and really got things moving in the right direction. But there was the whole kind of clown show about the national championship. Let's go have a parade at Disney World. And it was just like, is this what you're doing? But he was adapting at a place that needed that kind of leadership. I feel like at Tennessee, he has come in, he has handled the big budget, he has made some really good hires. I guess he inherited Tony Vitello. It feels like Josh Heupel's moving in the right direction. He's managed Rick Barnes well. They got a lot of good things happening at Tennessee right now, and I think Danny deserves a lot of credit. That is not an easy job. I know that you can look and you go, well, it's a big budget and it's a passionate fan base, and those things are true. But I don't think that's an easy job when there are as many stakeholders as there are at Tennessee that have a voice and have really big expectations. And I think that he has kind of threaded the needle between dealing with the boosters, dealing with all those stakeholders, and making it about winning on the field. And yeah, it seems to me like Tennessee, from an athletics department standpoint, is in better shape than it's been in a long time.
Yeah. Richard, you mentioned last week you were on the broadcast for the Charlottesville region, and now today, our last game of the day of 4 games will be Virginia hosting Kansas State. What do you see with this matchup after watching Virginia so closely last week? And we know what Kansas State did last week to get out of their regional. What do you see in this matchup between Kansas State and Virginia this weekend?
I like Virginia. I honestly didn't get to watch a lot of Kansas State. I was following scores and trying to keep up with it on squeeze play, but I know they put up some pretty big offensive numbers. I think Fayetteville this time of year plays a little bit more hitter-friendly than Virginia's Park does. One of the really, I would call it a quirk, but I mean, it's just the way it's set up. Virginia has probably the lowest outfield wall in the entire country. It's about a 6-foot wall from the left field foul pole all the way around through right center until you get to the bullpen over in the right field corner, and then it goes up to about 10 feet or so. And it makes for exciting baseball because we had, over the course of 6 games, I want to say there were 5 home runs that were robbed. 1 or 2 of them by Virginia. The St. John's outfielder pulled one back. Mississippi State pulled back last weekend. So that was kind of cool to watch. And so you got to hit it to get it out of Davenport Field there in Charlottesville. I was really impressed with the arms. Now, depth of arms could be an issue for Virginia. So if Kansas State is able to put on some pressure offensively and get into that Virginia bullpen, after 2 or 3 guys out of the pen, there's some real question marks for Virginia. Joe Savino's back from an injury. He was good in the first start that he had. And then Evan Blanco and Jay Woolfolk, who I mentioned a second ago, were all 3 really good as starters. So if Virginia is able to get depth out of their starters, I think they advance to Omaha for the 3rd time in 4 years. If Kansas State's going to win, they're going to put pressure early and get into that Virginia bullpen, and then kind of all bets are off.
Richard, we've seen summertime love for Ole Miss heading into the next football season, but I don't think there's ever been summertime love like this. And what I mean by that is, and I know you get it on y'all's text line, and I know you get it from Mississippi State partisans, and I get it from other teams as well, is, you blah, blah, blah. You're talking about Ole Miss in the preseason. I'm not doing it. I'm not the one. I'm not taking a preseason number 17 or 18 team and me saying they're going to be in the college football Elite Eight in the quarterfinals. I'm looking at all the different .com sites and the college football websites. They're saying it.
Well, there's just so much there, Brett. I mean, in terms of returning talent, right? I mean, you start with quarterback. There's so much experience with Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
You look at the wide receiver core. You're talking about Trey Harris and Jordan Watkins and Caden Priest-Corn at the tight end spot. It's just so much experience on that offensive side. Yes, there are questions at the running back spot. You know what you've got with Ulysses Bentley, but clearly Ole Miss is trying to add some pieces at that position, which makes you think they need more, right? They need a little more depth. They need more than just Ulysses Bentley, and I think that's a very reasonable thing to look at. Some pretty nice additions, 2 guys off of Washington's offensive line, a group that won the Joe Moore Award a year ago for the best offensive line in college football. So on the offensive side, really not a lot of questions. And then they got better on the defensive side. We've talked about it 100 times, right? The conversation, the very blunt way that Lane Kiffin described Ole Miss post-Georgia last year when he said, we don't look like those guys. And if we're going to compete for a title, if we're going to compete for the playoff, we've got to get a roster that looks like that Georgia roster. Well, they've accomplished that. Now, can they go out and perform for 12 weeks in the gauntlet that is the SEC? That's what you got to wait and see. The non-conference schedule is very favorable. Maybe a little tricky with a trip to Wake Forest, but if you're a college football playoff caliber team, you got to go win that game. And we'll see if Ole Miss is able to do it. And then you start looking at through the SEC. What are you going to do in Baton Rouge? What are you going to do at home against Georgia? What are you going to do at home against Oklahoma? Are you going to handle South Carolina on the road? Are you going to take a Kentucky team that probably is going to play really hard and be a 7-5 to 8-4, 9-3 type team and win that game? You got to go out and do it, but the pieces are there. And I think, to your point, Brett, this is the reason that the off-season conversation feels different this year than it has in just kind of your traditional hope springs eternal off-season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Richard, last thing for you. Speaking of SEC football, I saw on, I think, Paul Feinbaum's show yesterday, they had a countdown in the top left corner until Texas and Oklahoma officially joined the SEC. It was like 600, and it was a crazy number up there.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it was insane. But with those 2 teams coming into the SEC this year, I think Texas, you look at all the preseason stories and stuff like that, they're getting a lot of buzz for good reasons. What will life be like in year 1 in the SEC for both Texas and Oklahoma?
It's going to be more difficult than it has been in the Big 12. I heard a conversation, and forgive me for not remembering exactly where it was that I heard this earlier this week, but it was, so many times when you think about expansion, whether it's SEC expansion or otherwise, the teams that you're bringing in are generally a step below the teams that already exist in the league. You think about the last time the Big Ten expanded. They added Maryland and they added Rutgers. When the SEC expanded in 92, they added Arkansas and South Carolina. Good programs, but not elite programs at the time. You had Missouri and Texas A&M. Good programs, but not elite programs. A little bit different this go-around, right? With Texas and Oklahoma coming in, you are adding elite programs, elite departments, well-funded departments that are not, we've got to get to the SEC so we can get a big check. No, revenue is not an issue. I thought it was funny what I guess it was Trev Alberts that said it at Texas A&M, but I think it applies to Texas as well. We don't have a revenue problem. We've got a spending problem. Mm-hmm. And so not having a revenue problem is a good way to start. But yes, it's a step up in competition. It's the no weeks off thing, like we were talking about in college baseball and in college softball. There are no weeks off in the SEC. With all due respect, there's not a trip to Waco. There's not a trip to Ames. There's not a trip to Manhattan, Kansas. And I'm not saying that those aren't good programs, but that's not the same as going to Oxford one weekend and Athens the next weekend and Auburn the weekend after that. It's just different. I do think Texas is really good. They lost a bunch of pieces off defense. I know they were good in the portal. But just out of hand going, oh, well, they replaced it in the portal, they'll be fine. I need to see that. Pretty talented at quarterback. I think at both the number one spot and the number two spot. I think it's a little tougher for Oklahoma. They're not as far along as a program right now. I do think Oklahoma's going to be a little bit better on the defensive side this year, but they're going to roll out a redshirt freshman quarterback in Jackson Arnold, and I know he's really highly thought of. Being a first-year starter is no cakewalk in the Southeastern Conference.
Richard, make us a promise that the next time, if we don't catch up with you again before, at least this time, that in the closing loop in Dallas, me, you, Rob Fisher, Bryant, with SEC Roundtable again. Make me a promise.
That was a blast. I wouldn't miss it for anything.
You got it.
Good deal. Richard, as always, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Richard Cross with us from Sports Talk Mississippi, and we will catch up with him at SEC Media Days. That'll be the last hour of a busy week.
Oh, man, it sure will be, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, when we get those coaches on the podium and hear what they have to say, it means football right around the corner.
And all those predictions sure to go wrong.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the ones we're the most confident in that week during Media Days, 3 months later, just down in flames.
I started to ask, but I didn't want to drag him into this because I don't think anybody saw Zach Arnett being out at Mississippi State this time last year. I wonder if there's one out there early, mine, early in his tenure that could have exit at the end of the year. Mine is the potential 5-7 for Auburn and Hugh Freeze.
Certainly, yeah, and I think with Hugh Freeze, I think that fan base, if it's a struggle this year, I would not be surprised at all if they made a move. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know of any other coach out there, but certainly could be some.
Just can't fall behind it. Now, I don't think it'd be a surprise for Sam Pittman, but I was talking about, a shocker.
Sure.
And in just being fair, Zach Arnett stepped into a really sad
impossible. I mean, it was such a hard position.
So I don't think we need to be too hard on administration or on him. Richard Cross was on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, as all our guests appear. We appreciate Sissy's Log Cabin so much, and they will be with us at SEC Media Days. They'll also be the leaderboard update sponsor for everything at the FedEx St. Jude Championship when we're at TPC Southwind in August. They're at 4542 Poplar at that great new location. I was over there on Wednesday. Bill Jones, his great team, they're here to stay. Some kind of come and go, not sissies. They're part of the fabric of the community, the official jeweler of the hometown teams like the Grizzlies, like the Tigers. And we get back to FedEx Forum, we'll go back to that floor seat lounge, to the Sissy's Log Cabin floor seat lounge, right off the floor at FedEx Forum. 9,000 square feet in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more. Just the Rolex department, just that area of the store is something like we've never had in Memphis ever before. It's like something you would see on Michigan Avenue or on Fifth Avenue in New York City. Since 1970, with their locations across The Mid-South at Sisty's, they offer a selection of diamonds, estate jewelry, and fine gifts. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary experience because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, we need to grab a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot. Just like us. We're like the bag boys. What? Bag boys, bag boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Bring your food. For a deal you can count on, get on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's. Bag boys, bag boys. Price participation may vary. Each choice of GDC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4 piece nuts, junior fries, all soft. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the Little Red Tractor from Case IH, the Farm Hall, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Well, Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list, from hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farm Hall that's right for you.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place, the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now back to Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We just got done talking about a lot of college baseball, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of a score update from all of the action in college baseball. It's very interesting. We haven't talked about this, but it's interesting how they're doing the schedule. And my memory, I can't even remember how they've done it in years past, if this is standard or not. But today, it's the games on the left side. Tomorrow, we'll have everybody. The next day, we'll have the necessary games on the left side, the second game on the right side, and then Monday, we'll have the necessary games on the right side. I love how that's laid out. So today, we already have two finals in the books. Florida State all over UConn. We've talked about that already. 24-4, they beat UConn. And then Tennessee, it got, I think, a little nervous at times for Tennessee. Evansville even had bases loaded in that ninth inning, but couldn't get anything going. So Tennessee gets an 11-6 win to start their region, super regional action. Right now, West Virginia and North Carolina. West Virginia is currently leading in that one 1-0 in the top of the third over the number 4 overall seed North Carolina. In less than 30 minutes, we'll have the final game of the day starting Kansas State and Virginia in Charlottesville. So that one should be a lot of fun. Kansas State coming out of that Fayetteville region. Should be a lot of fun. These games already have been fun. Some interesting storylines already becoming, especially with Florida State just going out there and really handing it to UConn. So it should be a fun night and a really fun weekend in college baseball.
That bracket setup, you're right, that left side, that's really only Tennessee from the SEC on the proverbial left side.
Yeah.
On the right side, that's very SEC laden.
Certainly.
And that's how you could have, that's a real in-play shot for Tennessee from the left side when you get down to 2 out of 3 in Omaha against someone from that east side. That's someone, it could be Kentucky. Richard Cross made a really good point in our last segment. And I'm sorry I didn't elaborate more on it, but we're getting close on time.
Yeah.
When he talked about college baseball, it's growing. The popularity is there, especially down here. We got to get it other places, and the weather hurts it at a lot of other places. One place it hurts is in Big Ten land. You know, Big Ten's there in football. You know, very, very, very prominent in football, certainly in basketball where weather's no factor. But up there, you know, going to those games in February and March and maybe even April, that's tough. And now for the TV portion of college baseball, with what ABC, ESPN, Disney, what they're getting ready to commit again to with the NBA and those rights fees, they're not moving and shouldn't, any of those playoff games to show a very niche sport in college baseball.
Oh no, you're absolutely right about that. And so, you know, it's interesting kind of where college baseball is in terms of, you know, where it's shown and all of that stuff. But you know, I think it's a really fun sport to pay attention to. I know a lot more eyes are on it this time of year once we get to the tournament. And so no, I think some really good action, especially in the SEC. I mean, I think it's a different passion in the SEC than it really is in any other conference in the country. I mean, even in the really good conferences like the ACC, a really good year for the ACC. You know, Big 12 is really good year in and year out, but it's different in the SEC. And, you know, I do think some of that, and now the ACC has their own network, but I think some of that in recent years has been being able to get those baseball games on SEC Network, and SEC Network being very accessible for everyone. Because, I mean, you think about it, before SEC Network, you're trying to fight to get them on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU. Well, now, yeah, I mean, that's a losing battle. Now you can say, all right, SEC Network, you know, Thursday night, let's throw a SEC baseball game on there. Friday night, let's do the same. Saturday, we can throw a couple games on there. And you know, fans are able to see those games a lot more than maybe in some other conferences.
One thing that will help the Big Ten, and I'm sorry it happened, though, the death of the Pac. Sure. Those teams coming into the Big Ten that take baseball so very seriously, it will help the Big 12 because a lot of those teams that at one time that was the heart of college baseball world was the Pac.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and you know, I think the Pac was an interesting conference this year when it comes to baseball. You know, Oregon and Oregon State both still standing. And so, yeah, I think those teams that are leaving the Pac and Oregon State, you know, who knows what happens now with them. But, you know, for teams like Oregon that's going to the Big Ten, you know, Big Ten has not in recent years really been a powerhouse baseball conference, but when you're adding them and Washington and UCLA, USC, you know, some of those teams that can maybe, you know, fluff it up a little bit, and especially the Big 12 that I really love watching Big 12 baseball, but now you add Arizona that hosted a regional this year and some of those other schools out there, that will be a lot of fun. Colorado, though, will not, you know, Colorado doesn't play baseball, so that will be interesting, you know, them coming in and all the other sports but baseball. But no, I definitely think those conferences will definitely be helped out by the Pac falling apart.
I didn't want to show my ignorance when Richard mentioned 13 of the SEC in softball.
Oh, man.
Is Vandy the one that doesn't play softball?
I think so. I can't tell you I know I can remember any Vanderbilt softball.
Yeah.
So I would.
And why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Come on, Vandy. Vandy, quit acting like Vandy.
Well, I guess easier said maybe.
And tap into that endowment. You got the cash.
Yeah, Vanderbilt does not play softball.
I thought that was the one.
They do play lacrosse. How about that?
Okay,
Vanderbilt
good.
lacrosse. So good for them.
Usually one or the other goes over Title IX issues.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good point. I'm curious I wonder what conference they're in for. Oh, how about that, Brett? Vanderbilt is in the AAC for women's lacrosse.
I didn't know it.
So is Florida. I'm learning.
I think more of that should happen as we now have these conferences just from sea to shining sea.
Oh, yeah.
For budget and interest.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I was talking earlier about, play local.
Absolutely. Play, and especially, I love lacrosse. I love watching lacrosse. It was one of the sports growing up that I always wanted to play and never did. But certainly, I'm a big lacrosse guy. But when you've got schools,
what do you call the thing with the basket on it? I don't know.
The thing with the basket on it.
They throw the
stick
ball around with.
Lacrosse stick?
Is it just a stick?
Yeah, I think it's stick.
No fancy name for it?
The different parts have names for it that I could not tell you, but I think it's regular stick. But yeah, I mean, when you've got schools that want to play sports like that, especially the SEC, there's not many schools in the SEC playing lacrosse. When you can have a conference like the AAC say, hey, we'll offer women's lacrosse, and we'll bring in a school like Florida and Vanderbilt and some of these other schools, East Carolina. I think that's awesome. That's great.
I do as well. Didn't get to this either, and I know it's been a topic of discussion on Richard's show with Brian Haydad and Michael Borky, and a really great show across the state of Mississippi this week. In North Carolina, at the state legislative level, they have – it's moving along. I don't know if it's in front of the governor yet, but it's getting close, a law to make people play in-state, to make in football. And they speculated, will that happen in Mississippi? And how many other states? I know Arkansas and Arkansas State will finally play in football next September of 2025. In the month of September next year, Arkansas plays in Memphis, in Memphis against Memphis, in Little Rock against Arkansas State, and in Fayetteville against Notre Dame in 2025.
Wow, is that right?
But I hate that it has to get to that legislative government. First of all, do they not have anything better to do?
Really?
I would think a lot of other issues. But since they get to that, why does it have to get to that? And in Mississippi, I'm for I've said it a million times. I'm for playing the neighbors. Same in Tennessee.
Sure.
Now, I don't think there's anything in that North Carolina law that tells you where you have to play. And if I'm Ole Miss, I go, yeah, Southern will play, but 3 out of 4 is going to be in Oxford.
Sure, for sure. And no, you're absolutely right. It's very interesting. Legislation that's moving through in North Carolina, and I know I've seen a lot about this. Certainly, some of those smaller schools are excited about that possibility. Where maybe they've had trouble in years past to get.
Would you want that in Tennessee? Would you want to go lobby a state legislator to mandate Tennessee playing Memphis?
I wouldn't, just because I don't want that to be like law. Like I'd like to determine.
We ought to be able to sort that out without
exactly.
it falling into law.
I'd like to decide who I play, and not.
And in all those states, anytime kind of sports gets in front, whether it's Congress at the federal level, at the national level, or state by state, my standard answer is it's a series of questions.
Sure.
Now, I only can assume the state budget surplus is robust, right? Well, and at the state level, you can't deficit spend. So everything's good on the money front. If you have a surplus, have you returned the money back to the taxpayers because you overbilled them? Are all the school teachers getting raises, and I mean real raises? Do we got infant mortality rates in good shape? Do we have 8th grade reading and science and all that above a national standard. There's so many things I hope we're getting right before we have to start debating whether to play football or not.
Well, that's a great point, and I just put up a story about it. It's very interesting how it's laid out. So here's from this story I'm reading from WRAL.com. The bill would require UNC and NC State to play each other annually in football and men's and women's basketball. A nod to potential conference realignment that could impact the ACC, the school's long-term conference.
NC State and Virginia are going to do that in football.
Yeah, and here's the next kicker of it. The legislation would also require the two schools to play one of App State, East Carolina, and UNC Charlotte annually, and to play each of them home and away over a 6-year period in men's football, in football and men's and women's basketball. So not just football, also men's and women's basketball, and not just, one game. You're having to, like you said, every team in the state has to be involved. And I just, like you said, I think there's much bigger, important things that the state officials should be worried about than who
we got everything
North Carolina
really
plays.
Slick at the state prison level.
Right, yes. Everything, like you said, education's going swimmingly.
All potholes filled in on all the state roads.
Yes, that's right. No, I don't think that should be up to them. I think, if I'm Memphis and I can go and talk, if I want to play Middle Tennessee State, I'll go talk to them and get them on the schedule.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out. If they say no, okay, we'll move on. It's not the end of the world. But, who knows? And who knows what happens here, but I think you're right. If this moves through in North Carolina and becomes law, I could definitely see other states doing it.
I once knew a state legislator who proudly, the only bill he ever introduced in front of the Arkansas State House was to fire Frank Broyles.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
After every bad year, he would refile it.
That is great.
He loved going to the parties and enjoy being state rep.
Why not? That's hilarious.
Got beat by a write-in candidate. You know how hard it is to win as a write-in?
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's difficult. Wow. Well, at least he was there, I guess. But let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show and this week with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Right now at Genesis Diamonds, we're always giving relief to our customers with free financing for this time of year, at Designer Engagement Ring with that luxury pre-owned Rolex and spread your payments over 5 whole years without paying a dime in interest. Take care of our switches for us and $45 off, and that's with zero down. Now through June and only at Genesis Diamonds. Let's extend our
Corky's Barbecue. Hi, this is Jim Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We have been serving up our legendary barbecue for more than 39 years, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Whether you're dining in, picking up in our drive-thru, or serving our famous barbecue at your office or home, with Corky's Party Pack, you are the hit of the party. Barbecue pulled pork, baked beans, coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and buns, starting at only $8.49 per person. And as you know, we send plenty of food. You never have to worry about running out of the store. Corky's Barbecue. Hi, this is Jim Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We have been serving up our legendary barbecue for more than 39 years, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Whether you're dining in, picking up in our drive-thru, or serving our famous barbecue at your office or home, with Corky's Party Pack, you are the hit of the party. Barbecue pulled pork, baked beans, coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and buns, starting at only $8.49 per person. And as you know, we send plenty of food. You never have to worry about running out of the store.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The double steak grilled cheese burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that the UFL has had their first player signed to an NFL team, and he comes from the Memphis Showboats. Dawood Davis, one of the Showboats
Way to go.
receivers. It was announced yesterday evening that he would sign to the Carolina Panthers. First player from the UFL with most of the teams, I guess half the teams, done for the year. The other half still playing in the playoffs that start with the semifinal game. So 4 teams still playing, 4 teams not playing anymore. So those teams that are not playing anymore, those guys are available now, and Dawood Davis gets picked up by the Carolina Panthers. I'm sure there'll be a handful of guys from the UFL that get signed. Brett, we talked all year long about the kicking in this league. It was really good. I'm sure a couple of those kickers will get picked up by teams, but definitely cool to see a Memphis Showboat being the first ever, I guess, because the UFL, new league this year, first ever UFL player to get signed by an NFL team.
You want a road trip to St. Louis for San Antonio against St. Louis tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know.
Catch the Cardinals?
Save that for the championship game when St. Louis in the championship game, Brett.
What I learned today, 23 times to Omaha for Florida State baseball, 60 NCAA tournament appearances, a 20-run win today, legendary program, 0 titles.
Wow.
That's Arkansas's future fate.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like it, and we'll see what Florida State can do this year. They can certainly put up the runs, and hopefully those bats continue to stay hot. What I could have done without today, the 6 finalists for the name of Utah's newest NHL team have been announced, and Brett, I think I hate all of them. Here are the finalists for Utah's new team name, the Utah Blizzard. Not bad. I don't necessarily hate it. Yeah. Utah Hockey Club. Not a fan. Let's have a mascot. Yes. Utah Mammoth. Which, why is
so far all no S ending nicknames?
That's what I'm saying. Why is it just Mammoth? I mean, are we saying it's the Utah Huge? Are they really big, or is it the actual mammoth animal? Let's have an S on there. The Utah Outlaws.
There we go.
Yeah.
Had the old Oklahoma Outlaws in the USFL.
No, there you go. The Utah Venom.
Never remember a Venom.
I don't know a Venom.
That sounds too dangerous.
And the last one, the Utah Yeti.
Just Yeti singular?
Just Yeti singular, yep. Like the coolers, Brett.
How much money did they spend on this?
I don't know. I think I hate all
85 cents?
Yeah, I think I hate all the names.
I think I do too. I could have done without this brutal golf course this weekend at the Memorial at Jack Nicklaus's tournament for these guys a week before a U.S. Open. This is just begging for one of the live dorks to step in and win next week at Pinehurst number 2. Yeah. It's killing them this week.
No, it 100% is. Where are you beaming this weekend?
Beam me to Dodgers at Yankees all weekend long. The king of the American League, the king of baseball, the New York Yankees. Against the Dodgers, but we know who's second best all time in the National League. That's the Cardinals.
That's right.
Or first in the National League, second best in all of baseball.
That's right. So that'll be definitely a fun series to watch. Beam me to the NBA action Sunday night, Celtics and Dallas. We'll see if Dallas can make some noise in Game 2 and maybe not it back up 1-1 going back home. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your weekend. Plenty of sports to watch. Like I said, that's all the time we have. We'll talk to you again Monday afternoon.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs,